Alright, 7 July 2026, almost 9 p.m. So, the camera that saw tomorrow. Theo almost didn't buy the camera. It sat at the very back of the flea market stall. An old film camera with a scratch mysterious dent in its side. Priced at $3 because nobody wanted it anymore. But something about it made him hesitate. Before walking away, and he turned back and bought it. That night, in his dorm room, he noticed the film counter still showed a few frames left. Someone had left an unfinished roll of film inside. Curious, he decided to shoot the remaining frame himself and develop the whole roll the next day in the campus dark room, just to see what he'd find. The photography lab was nearly empty on Sunday afternoon. Theo worked gradually, hanging its photo to dry under the red safety light. The first few were ordinary: a coffee shop, a bicycle, someone's shoes, but the last four photos on the roll stopped him completely. The first showed the campus quite covered in snow, though it was only the beginning of October, and no snow had fallen yet. The second showed the library seat wall painted with a large mural of a blue whale. Though that wall was still bare brick, waiting for new art. Installation the student council hadn't even fought on. The church showed a food truck Theo had never seen, parked outside the science building. The fourth, the strangest of all, showed two people sitting on the library steps, laughing. A girl with short, dark hair he didn't recognize sitting beside someone who looked remarkably like him. He told himself it had to be a coincidence. Some strange trick of double exposure. But 5 days later, an early snowstorm swept through campus, 3 weeks ahead of schedule, and Theo stood in the quad in stunned silence, holding an umbrella and staring at the scene he had already seen develop in the dark room tray. He became fascinated, then quietly anxious, watching the mural. Watching for the mural next. 2 weeks later, the student council immediately approved funding for a new art piece on the library's east wall. When it was finished, it was a blue whale, exactly as the photograph had shown. Theo didn't know whether to feel amazed or frightened. He began carrying the fourth photograph everywhere, studying the girl's face, wondering if the moment it showed had already occurred. Some were waiting for him to catch up to it. You can't force something like this, his roommate told him one evening, only half listening as he scrolled through his phone. If it's real, it will happen. If it's not, you're just staring at an old photo of stranger. But what if I could make it happen faster? Theo asked. What if I found her first? I can guarantee. That's a good idea, his roommate said. Some things you can rush into existence just because you want them badly enough. Theo knew he was right, but he couldn't stop thinking about the photograph anyway. For the next few weeks, he searched every crowd for a girl with a short dark hair, feeling faintly embarrassed. Every time he was wrong, he began to wonder if wanting something too much, like desperate problem from actually finding it. Then, on an ordinary Thursday, none of it mattered anymore because he wasn't looking. He was late for his printmaking class, jogging down the library steps with his portfolio under one arm when he collided with someone coming the other way. Pepper scattered across the stone steps in every direction. He dropped to his knees immediately, apologizing, gathering pets that weren't his. It's fine. Don't worry about it, the girl said, laughing as she caught a pet before it blew away. Short, dark hair, a particular kind of laugh, easy and warm, like she found the whole collision genuinely funny rather than annoying. Theo froze, staring at her for a bit too long. What? She asked, half smiling, silly, tilting her head. Remind me of someone. They sat together on the steps for a moment, sorting the mix-up peppers into two piles, and somewhere in the middle in ordinary task. They simply kept talking. Her name was Priya. She was a new transfer student, still learning her way around campus, still occasionally getting lost between buildings that looked too similar to each other. Theo didn't tell her about the photograph. Not that day. Not for a long time after some part of him had become conscious of how strange it would sound, and he didn't want her to think their meeting had been anything other than what it was. Two people, Pepper scattered across library steps, laughing at bad timing. Months later, cleaning out an old bag, he found the photograph again, tucked into a side pocket. Studied it one more time. The version of himself sitting on those same steps, laughing beside a girl he he now knew far better than any photograph could show. He noticed something he missed before, a small handwritten that in the corner of the photo, faded but legible. Now that he knew to look for it, it wasn't a death from the future at all. It was tomorrow's death from the very day he'd found the camera. The photo hadn't been showing him some distant, faded future. It had simply been showing him that could happen if he paid enough attention to notice it, arriving one single day ahead of schedule, like a quiet invitation nobody forced you to accept. Theo never figured out who owned the camera before him, or how the roll of film had captured moments that hadn't happened yet. But he kept the photographs anyway, tucked now inside a frame on his desk, right next to a newer one. The same two people, same steps, an ordinary afternoon. He hadn't needed any camera to notice. Thank you.